Hello and welcome to part 2 of Living with a Swace, sort of half review. I am sorry if camera work is a bit funky in this one. As you can probably see, I am quite tired. I've just finished work on a Saturday. I've only got tomorrow off. I'm back at it for 5 more days before I get a whole weekend off. But anyway, Living with a Swace. Don't know if you heard that. That is something electrical in the car whining. I'm not quite sure what it is. It does it often when I'm unlock the car and come in, and when I've locked it as well. At least when I've switched off and got out. But anyway, might be a bit damp, but let's have a little bit of a walk around, shall we? So we'll start off with the controls. So we've got a few more controls than what I had in a Baleno. Effectively, this video could almost double up as a Toyota Corolla estate review, really. So I've got front and rear. I'll get there eventually. Front and rear electric windows, locking and central locking mechanism from inside. I have obviously my window lock. I can set my wing mirrors to fold when it is locked, which is not something I could do on any of the Suzuki that I was aware of. And then I've got obviously my adjuster. Interior seems quite nice, at least in the front. That's just my work rucksack. Automatic, well, it's a CVT. So let's see if we can get in here without the camera shining too much, shall we? Just turn that around. It might look a bit funky in the video. So we've got park, reverse, neutral, and drive. B is to do with hill hold. And basically holding on to hill start. Words can't work today. Decent entertainment system. Buttons are quite intuitive. I've got heated seats, which have been a godsend. My shoulders have been killing me the last couple of days. Got this here where in the SZ5 that would be wireless charging. But it's just a phone tray where I store parking tickets and a decent torch. If anyone needs a sidetrack, if anyone needs a decent torch for a car, I'd recommend one of these. I got it as a gift from my in-laws. It's a decent torch, bright LED. It'll even flash as needs be. Narrow beam, wide beam, and it's got things including a small Swiss Army knife set on the side of it as well. So like I said, I'd recommend that if you haven't got one. Got cup holders here. I've still got my dash cam. In here, we have, well, I have some tissues from, when you need napkins. I've got the cigarette lighter for the other thing. I've got a USB slot. Now, in the handbook, it says that there is an on and off switch. I can't find it, because I'd like to use my tunes. I'm a bit old school with my music in the car. Well, I'm trying to say old school because that implies CD or tape. But I have a memory stick filled with loads and loads of songs that I'd play, and it won't do anything. It just basically charges that memory slot. Also, Android Play doesn't seem to work on this car, which is a pain because I'd like that whole screen to become sat nav when I'm driving, but it won't happen. Sort of soft open and close, decent sized glove box. That Swace handbook is enormous. So I've got decent steering wheel. Voice command seems okay. Buttons aren't the most fantastic. Horn is a little bit weak in the sense of, for the size of this car, you would think it would be a bit deeper. It's still quite high beeping horn. I've got lane departure, which is quite interesting when it comes on. Sort of odd fighting. Well, it's wrong to say fighting, but how it feels. Fighting it in the sense of it's pulling me back into line when I hadn't realised on a couple of occasions. Cruise control. The cruise control in this seems to work differently to how I've seen it work in other cars. Cruise control to me means you set the speed, the car maintains that speed, and the only way it doesn't is when you make it brake. That sets a speed limiter. So you just keep your foot on the pedal, but then you don't have to worry about adjusting and constantly modulating, which with the CVT is kind of hard. Then you got your it's really odd that you press that to sort of begin setting your speed, that to make it go up. Cancel sort of stops the limiter, but the option's still on. Got radar, which I'm not sure quite what that will do. Those are obviously bits to do with the audio system. Down here, got my headlights and auto on, auto off. Heated steering wheel, I had it on the other day, that's actually quite nice. Heated front windscreen, that should be quite good. And then my traction control, which I accidentally turned off the other day. Not as in I thought I was reaching for my heated windscreen, but obviously from here, you sort of, those buttons are a little bit like guesswork, really. You know, sort of kind of hard work to know which one to press. Some of the buttons in this car will never work, as in even if you bought an SZ5, they're just never going to do it. I've got an auto dimming rear view mirror. We've got these which have the lights that come on. With that, I've got something to turn the alarm off. I've got decent light setting, SOS call as well, which all seems pretty good. How about we turn it on? So to turn it on, foot auf den brake. I've got the power button here. It even tells you what you need to do to start it. Foot on the brake. That's it starting up. Let's put a light on just to improve the video. So, I hope it doesn't connect to my music, just because licensing and so on and so forth. Might not. Well, it has, but I'm going to just quickly turn it off, so that's what the screen looks like. So, this option here is always there. Tells you when battery's contributing. Oh, I haven't even seen it do this. This is something new we're discovering together. Maybe if I get that right, we could probably get that to work as a new cover picture for Velocity Kinetics. I don't know. So, battery, the engine and electric motor. Trip information, let's have a look and see what we get. Whoa! So, I'm not sure how good that is or not. I'm sort of just poking around here, really. Wow, got a quite interesting few options within that, but back to where it is normally. Home. Oh, I can actually change what it looks like, can I? Wow, we're learning as we do the video. ZOMG. But for a while that had just been showing me what power was going where and how it was regenerating. I can set up to 4 people who can contact. Obviously we've got the audio. Interestingly, I can have one phone connected for Bluetooth and have another one connected for tunes, which is what Sarah and I tend to do because she doesn't like my music. I'm not a massive fan of a lot of what she listens to. So going to the menu, we've got all the options here. For instance, we look at phone. Actually, no, we won't because I forgot that would bring up my contacts. Go back to menu. So we can go into things like setup for the car. We've got all the different things like what we can do. Getting conscious that it's getting a bit trippy, but I also need to get close enough to be able to do stuff. So we've got all this sort of stuff on here. Software update I don't want to do, but, you know, Bluetooth, you've got all that. Audio. Phone, which phones are connected, and messaging. Got your voice controls. Got the vehicle, so valet mode, I don't know what that is. It's some sort of code that must do something, but nope, didn't want that. Vehicle customization, door lock settings. So I can basically do it so I can press the lock twice to lock the door, or whether press once. I'm currently set for press once. It'll only unlock what. I can also change what it does, and smart entry and start system, that's also there. Light settings, I've set the interior lights to come on for 30 seconds once the car's unlocked and stay on 30 seconds until the car is locked. Decent settings. Now, map, we've got the map button for map. but I can't do anything with it. There's nowhere to put an SD card in to try and trick it into thinking it's got some. Audio, as we saw, we've got all these different sources, but USB is the one I want to use. I can't seem to get it to work. Channel, that must be to do with everything else. Setup, we've got other things as well. Sort of back into everything else. It's quite interesting. Buttons are quite nice to touch. So we've got different driving modes down here. I've got EV only, but that is very, very difficult to use. Difficult in the sense that you can only go so fast before it cuts off, and you can only accelerate so hard. I've got different driving modes here, so at the moment, if you see that where it says green in Eco, it's because I've set it to go into Eco. So if I move that forwards, we're now back into normal. If I do it again, we get Sport. Now, I've never had it in Sport. It arrived in normal. Recently, I've been driving around in Eco, because I've been doing a lot of town driving, so what is the point in having it do anything else? The car does steam up quite a bit, but at the moment I think it's because I haven't really sussed out how I want my vents set and things. So I think that is more on me than it is anything else. To make it move, obviously, foot on the brake, move it down. Handbrake is electronic. I'm just going to put my handbrake back on because I don't want to move. So it wants to start moving. So I'm going to get it back out of everything else, back safely. The hard thing is... working out what to do in traffic, because you're not supposed to sit on the brake. So every time you finish you get a score. Now my score from coming home from work was 94. I've been averaging about 82. And then it gives you a message about how you can improve. Let's turn that off. So we'll have a wander around, shall we? Because I've got to get something out the car. But yes, what I was saying, sat in traffic, it's hard to know what to do, because it's not always convenient to remember to go from here to neutral and then remember to stick the handbrake on, because that is the handbrake, which is been hard to get used to. I've had nothing but a proper lever for so long. Or do you leave it in drive and then put the handbrake on, but then the car's wanting to move, but then the moment you put your foot on the accelerator, the car starts moving, it releases the handbrake for you. It's, I don't know, it's a bit of a tough one to decide, but I'm working on it. So, if we get out the car, on my back. So, I got this car in black, as I sort of touched on in the other video, because I didn't want it in white, because if you see where my car is parked, I've got a tree there, a tree there, and a tree there. Now, I don't know about you, but that also means that there is a lot of sap going to come on the ground and land on the car. So from the front, the car itself, I have to admit, it's not a very good looking front end. It might grow on me a bit, but given with what constraints Suzuki probably had to work with from what Toyota set, it's reasonable, I suppose. We'll have a look under the bonnet in a minute, let that cool a little more. But I didn't, because of where it's parked and all the sap, and I've got the trees over there, the A14's just over there. It gets very dusty and very dirty, and I didn't want to put another white car under here, because at times the Bonnet was just filthy. But it looks alright in black. It does look like it needs a wash. The wheels look quite cushy. Big old hybrid badge. If I were to lock the automobile, I've got the key on me. Interestingly, you can't lock. So this is what the fob is. That's all it is. You can't lock that in the car. The car refuses to lock. But I've set my car to do this, because I could have used that so many times on the Bonnet. So this is where it is from the passenger seat. Seat's currently how Sarah would have it, which maybe not quite where I would have it, but then again, I'm not a passenger in my cars. Well, I've never been a passenger. I've been a passenger in one of my cars once. Back seat. Fairly reasonable space, I would have said. I haven't tried getting in. Maybe it could be a little bit better, I suppose, for leg room. But I could always pull my seat forward. Sarah could always move her seat forward. Based on where we would normally sit, that's okay. Does this middle bit come down? I haven't even had a look. Yes, it does. So we've got even a nice little armrest. 3-point seat belts across the board. Seatbelt locking points for the children's seat belts. Sorry, child seats. I've put my red carpet back down. The car did come with carpets, but I've put my carpet back in just to help protect it. The fuel rig here, well, fuel filler, quite odd. It's like on in the Bonnet it's just solid metal. So I'm doing this and it's raining. I'm trying to work out what is water on the car and what is water on the screen. It's solid metal, as in you just put it in, that's it. Whereas this has some sort of plastic bouncy mechanism in it, which I suppose is interesting. But so we're at the back, we've got our reversing camera just there. It's a better reversing camera than the Bonnet had, but for the entry model that the Bonnet was, that was a pretty good camera. Got a little spoiler on the back, which should help with some of the dirty air and just general dirt. Boot's pretty good, got the luggage cover. I'd say boot's pretty big. My first aid kits, I know there's a lot of... Most British people will probably have loads of plastic bags in the back of their car, because obviously the charge for using that. And we've got this under here, which is where a spare wheel would be. We haven't even got a donut in this, but I put some other bits, odds and bits in there. 60/40 rear split. Something to do with taking that out. Got a cigarette lighter in the back here as well, so I could also have a rear-facing dash cam in this car if I wanted, which I'm toying with. I'm toying with it, but and then we're back around to here, and then obviously here got a nice weight to the doors, and make a nice satisfying noise when they're shut. But overall, I'd say it's been a pretty good purchase. At least for what I need. I'm not sure I could have afforded to go all the way to the Toyota. I'm liking the hybrid at the moment. We'll have a look under the bonnet now, shall we? So there's the walk around. I look more like a car salesman at the moment than anything, but that was the walk around the outside and a bit on the inside. So let's get under the bonnet, shall we? Right. So get in here. Ooh, it makes a horrible noise. Nicer release mechanism, because the Bonnet one I always felt like I was going to break it. Whether that was because it was a cheap Suzuki, as in low end, didn't have the same level of engineering. Catches in a weird place. So just getting this done. Just showing the world my bald patch probably. And here we are. Under the bonnet. It's we've got a main electric petrol motor here. We've got the electric motor over there and the inverter. Got batteries are under the passenger seat apparently, at least according to the diagrams. I've not got anything to lift the car up to confirm it or not. So it's a 4-cylinder, 4 cylinder, 1.8 litres, 109 PS on the petrol. 109, 111 even, sorry. So not much more powerful than what the Bonnet had, which is what I meant in the initial video. They probably could have made a better car using the booster jet engine, coupling it to hybrid, then you'd have saved it even more weight, and had a car that would really love to shift. Not to say that won't shift, it doesn't make a very good noise whilst it does it. But again, it's a hybrid, it's not supposed to make a good noise, it's sort of a catch-22 in many ways. I can't say I'm disappointed with it. Far from it, it's been very well behaved on all the long journeys it's done so far. I have to say, I'm impressed. I love this, but I accidentally shut the lid to my screen wash in there the other day, and it was still there. Whereas on the Bonnet, I then had to sort of reach underneath the car and get all sorts of things out from underneath it. Unfortunately, because of where we are with all the leaves, to get a lot of leaves caught in here, and they won't come out at speed. Now, whether it's because the wind's blowing them in there really hard, or whether they're just unfortunate shaped cracks, or whether the car's so aerodynamic I can't get the turbulence in the right spots to basically have the wind blow it out. But like I say, I really do like what I bought, and like I've said to several people, a lot of people don't seem to properly believe me about it. And fair play, because it is me. I do like my cars. I do like to replace my cars when I can afford to do so. But I really did not intend to replace it when I did. I could have maybe kept the Bonnet one, but then obviously, as some people know, when they've had cars that started to cost a lot after MOTs and things, that whole thing with the condenser was just... What sort of world of problems was I not going to have? It was like, there's one hell of a roll of the dice to take, and I'm not sure I wanted to find out. Someone else might have wanted to, but not me. Oh, my shoulders are killing me. Like I said, heated seats worked wonders, and now the effects of it are wearing off. Handling wise, it could do better at cornering, so I'm just going to shut the bonnet now. Now bang. Driving wise, it's not fantastic at corners. Steering's very light. But again, it's a hybrid. It's sort of a case of for a performance hybrid, you're looking at nearly twice the price. Or you need to go for something like Polestar 2 or something like that's been engineered to do it. Cornering, like I say, cornering could be better. Acceleration, depending on what mode it's in, sometimes it's not the most fantastic things to build up speed. The CVT it's not a bad gearbox, and I understand it needs to be CVT, because with it potentially switching between petrol and electric, sometimes at 70 miles an hour, it can't suddenly decide to go, right, I now need to work all my way all the way through the gears. It needs to remember, right, I was in gear 4 here, so I'll just pick up in gear 4 when I've decided I don't need to stop using the electric. But it does seem to choose gears rather oddly, and wrong gears, wrong to say, I would say wrong gears if I was driving it as a manual. Obviously, with it being done in such a way for it to be eco and a hybrid, it makes perfect sense to it, but not to me at the moment. However, that said, it doesn't hesitate when it wants to change gear. It just seamlessly changes fantastically. The switch between electric and petrol is brilliant. The eco mode, when you're wanting to try and conserve your fuel and things, it really does work. You can feel the throttle pedal becomes heavier, as in it work harder to make it move. Reversing with electric is becoming interesting, because it's an electric motor. It wants to get moving and things, which I understand. It's been a bit of a challenge trying to reverse it up and around here, where I have to back my car up. Because as you can see from here, that is where my car has to fit through. That is where my car comes up. So my car comes up, I basically then fling it forwards. I basically fling it into... Where is it? That's hard to work out. I fling it into there, and then I reverse round, then I go over here, and then I come back this way. I have just caught the wing mirror on the bricks. Granted, it was only the plastic, and from what I can see there's no damage, but one of those no moments. So, as it is, because of how narrow this is, it feels often like I'm about to start scraping the car down there. But obviously, what's hard, with the style of fencing this is, you're looking at the post, and you keep thinking that the rest of the fence is with the post, even though the what we call it, the horizontal bits of the fence are on the outside of the post. If they're on the inside, I would have been absolutely screwed multiple times. So, that's the only bit it's proving difficult. I can more or less get it into the similar position where the Baleno used to be. Whether I can actually get two cars side by side up here anymore is another thing altogether. Like I say, reversing with electric, it either comes to a complete stop. You have to stab the throttle a little bit to get it moving, stab it more than I'd care to at least. Or it just wants to keep gaining momentum. Which, again, is hard because sometimes it's like I do my whole reversing with my brake on. It's, well, that said, like I said, this is coming from someone, I've had my licence just over 6 years, and for nearly all of that time I've driven manual. I learned manual. Only time before this I had an automatic was when someone at Suzuki lent me their Jimny for the day as a courtesy car. And even then that was terrible, but it was a Jimny. That generation of Jimny at least. It was the 1.3 petrol, the previous generation before the one that was really just been really popular. So overall, marks out of 10, if I had to give it a 10, I would say the Baleno was a 7 out of 10. The Swift I had was a 6 out of 10. Swift was a 6 out of 10, doors were too big, boot was too small. Baleno's a 7 out of 10, because it could have done with a tiny bit more refinement to make the price, and more a case of like if they could have made it a tiny bit bigger in each direction, like I say, gave it Vauxhall Astra, VW Golf, or Focus, Honda Civic even dimensions, Skoda Scala dimensions, maybe even something like Alpha Giulietta dimensions, then they'd have been absolutely laughing, but it was fundamentally flawed because of that. This, initially, from so far, I'm going to give it a 9, I think, out of 10. 9 out of 10. Why a 9? Why have I erred? It's like, I'd probably give it an 8.5, but I don't want to get into the point bits. It's certainly at least an 8, but to give it the benefit of the doubt is a 9. It's just clocked 1,100 miles now. And the reason why it's also a 9 is John Banks did such a bloody good job. Part of why that's been so good is my experience started off so well with the dealer. As we touched on a video about 2 years ago, if the car dealer you're buying it from is worth their salt, then it doesn't matter what experience you have with the car afterwards, up to a point, obviously. But if you have a decent experience with the car afterwards, then it'll always be remembered better because the buying experience was so good. But it's 9 because seat's comfortable. Engine, whilst it could, in some ways, it could do with more power, a little more get up and go. That said, it's designed for hybriding, so score might change over time. But based on how I drive it and what I need to do, it is a solid engine. Ride is amazing. Baleno ride was so stiff it felt like it ran out of suspension travel most of the time. Fuel running costs, bit awkward at the moment because petrol in the UK is going up and up and up. Did I say the word up? Maybe up a bit more, and possibly up, and maybe up. Did I say up? And up. Maybe not the wisest of times to change from a 1 litre to a 1.8, but I'm already getting 55 mile a gallon out of that, whereas I was only getting 51 out of the Baleno. Granted, not as many as the original Baleno I had, where it was like, what, 54? Something like that? 54.6, I think. So, we'll see how we do with this over time. I'd highly recommend it. Sarah's uncle is quite interested in getting himself one, or at least sounding quite vocal about possibly getting one. It's a good family estate, I would say. So as I covered in part 1, when the pitter-patter of tiny feet come, that should be good enough for what we need. Got another big journey next year when we're meant to be going up to Scotland, although something work-related might put the fucking spanner in the works for that one, but there we are. So, I like it. That's my review. It's a very good piece of kit, which means the Toyota version will be a very good piece of kit too. So, I hope you all have a good day. and drive safe, look after yourselves. Please donate to the PayPal page, paypal.me/Velocity Kinetics. I would like some more donations. Well, actually, I'd like a donation on there, to be honest, whilst I've technically had one that was from winning a competition on new jokes, so they used that as my way to get my winnings for my improv joke. But anyway, oh God almighty, my arms. But I'd like to look at getting us onto a proper website, move off WordPress, or at least turn it from WordPress, from velocitykinetics.wordpress.com into velocitykinetics.com. And I'm looking at starting up a little store for t-shirts and things. But I'm not sure quite how I'm going to do that yet, and we're still looking into Patreon. But anyway, look after yourselves, drive safe, and we'll see you next time. Or everything was going good with owning a Swace until this morning. I know it's a little bit of metal. Ultimately, if you want to break it down to being blunt, ultimately it is just a few bits of metal and some bolts, and it's not the end of the world. However, that is my first step to getting a really nice car. It's my first step to getting something hybrid, a bit more technical, and first step in many directions to things like it. Well, Sarah's jokingly called it a dadmobile a couple of times. But it's the principle of what a simple mistake it was. Ultimately, it is my mistake because I cut the corner too close. But with where we get out, and if you've seen the picture on Facebook, there's no light around there at all when we're getting the car out in the morning. The only light is whatever lights come on the car. So I'm overcompensating at the back to not gouge it on the garage, and I've just gone wide. So I should have put some steering back on a little bit sooner, or I should have done what I sometimes do, which is turn left to turn right. It's hard enough reversing that car up and around, as you've seen in the video, but I'm so angry. And it's more also not just that, it's a case of with where it's been damaged. Obviously the front end is designed for aerodynamics to help your miles per gallon, so that's going to be affected a little bit until I can get it repaired. It's the amount of money that will be involved, because I don't know whether that's got to go to Toyota to be repaired, whether I've got to find a Toyota bodywork specialist, whether it's got to go to a Suzuki bodywork specialist, whether any bodywork specialist could do it, and then the money. Bearing in mind one place wanted £700 to do a simple crack on the front of that Baleno, and that what I've done there is not a simple crack. It is down to the metal. In one place there is a hole in the bumper, and I think I pulled the bit where the towing eye should go in. It is quite a cock up, and well, to be honest, I got home and cried because I was so cross with it. I've asked my landlord to put some lights up and around. He hasn't done it. I've looked at some solar lights that I've had before, but I don't think there's enough light coming, particularly in the winter. There's not enough light for those solar lights to work.